up, legends? It's your favourite Pom back here, so that means you've clicked on PommyInOz. Hope we're all absolutely awesome today. It's time for the big one, round 6, the AFL tips. After last week's chaos, there was heartbreak, there was dodgy umpiring calls, there was some splendid football, and there was some poor football. And we're locked and loaded for a banging round of football. We've run the number, we've crunched the stats, like Ross Lyon squinting at a score review. So let's run the intro and get right into it. So as always, last week we always recap with a footy-based poem. So let's get stuck into that and also check how I did at the end of it in the tipping. So Gavin Round came with Sunshine and Spice. Footy in wine country, that'll do nice. From Norwood to Barossa and back to the Glade. Footy was fierce and statements were made. At the Adelaide Oval, the Cats had a feast. Fogarty roared, but Danger, he's a beast. Then the Pies kept marching with swagger and grace, made Sydney look lost, like they'd never seen the place. Barossa Park, where the Suns took control, Ben King bagged 5 and looked ice cold. Carlton smashed the Eagles by 71. About time, lads, that looked like fun. Norwood turned thriller as Brisbane roared. From 39 down, they still outscored. Essendon rolled Melbourne with legs and intent. 5-zip down now. The D's, they look spent. Tracy went bang in the Freo clash. Richmond got smoked and left out with the trash. Saints looked shaky. Giants, they found form. And Norwood again, thick of an orange storm. And Port, they flexed at Adelaide's cauldron. Too strong for the Hawks and had the cloud roaring. From wineries to suburbs, footy was loud. Gather round, you're an absolute beauty. And you did us all proud. So last week I got 6 out of 9. Not great. But there we have it. I did take a few shocks. Let's get into this week's tips though. Thursday night, Brisbane versus Collingwood. The Gabba is a fortress, but the Pies do have a tendency to turn up when people doubt them. Stats-wise, Collingwood are elite at converting forward chains. Their turnover differential currently at 17.6, top 3 in the comp, and they're only needing around 12.7 disposals to generate a shot at a goal. That's crisp and efficient like a roast potato on a Sunday. Brisbane, they're incredibly solid, but negative 7.4 points per game conceded from defensive half score chains. I'm going with Pies by 11 here. They'll swarm late like Collingwood's fan base do after a dodgy free kick count. North versus the Blues at Marvel on the Friday in the afternoon. The Roos, they're really trying. You've got to give it to them. But at the minute, at times, it does look like in the second half, you've sent your toddler out to wrestle John Bones Jones. Carlton, incredibly inconsistent, but they do have weapons. They're winning 1.8 more shots per game generated than North Melbourne, and with a huge 58.4 inside 50s per game. North, they're dead last in scoring efficiency and barely entering forwards 50, especially in the second half. I'm going to go the Blues by 28 here. Cripps and Cherry to have a field day, and I think Walsh may have a big day out. Eagles versus Essendon at the Optus in the evening, may I add. Essendon probably could send out a VFL team with all due respect and still take care of the Eagles. West Coast are bottoming just about every metric, particularly contested possession rate, and that is usually a good thing if you're generating massive scores. When you're not, that is showing a lack of defensive application, and we saw last week a record low contested possessions. That's not footy, that's cardio with a few obstacles. Essendon, they're building nicely, quite quick, high pressure, and they're efficient moving the ball through stoppages as well. They're really starting to steadily rise, and there is a nice little plateau in their data metrics. We're going with the Bombers here by 39. Unless Harley Reid has a big day, I think this is a pretty much safe bet. Melbourne versus Fremantle at the G. Bit of a spicy this one because the Ds have been wounded statistically and Fremantle are rising. Their stoppage scoring is Fremantle is plus 8.2 differential, and they're gaining huge territory, 245 metres plus in differential per game. Melbourne structurally are a mess right now. Scoreboard differential from turnover is -4. They're leaking sources, particularly when the pressure's on. The pressure metrics don't quite showcase any scoring efficiency. So working really hard at times for zero reward. Dockers by 10, Sarong and Young to run riot. Adelaide versus GWS, back home, back in the safety of the AO, and is where you think the Adelaide Crows will cook. Their Crows are creating a shot every 12.5 disposals, which is elite, and the forward half differential of +3.2, they trap it in and genuinely feast. Giants, they're an incredible side statistically all around, and it is at times this year turnover has been their issue. They play a very offensive game plan, and that is where the Crows do like to feast too. I'm going to go by the Crows by 25 here. Tex to pull out a vintage one. Richmond versus Gold Coast. Richmond, it's grim at the minute, but they are building a future here. They're playing for the players in the future as opposed to the now. They're bottom 4 in every major stat, as you would expect, and their forward half scoring is -12.4, which is not the pressure that's required, and that is an area I think they could definitely see some instant results from. The Suns are efficient in just about everything. Top 5 in all of the scoring metrics. Gold Coast by 30, row to eat 5 blokes and some grass, and then ask for seconds. Sydney versus Port at the SCG. This game has a tie of the round vibes. Port's defence is leaky at the minute, though, and Sydney are humming, plus 14.6 metres gained per game, and they have a great scoring efficiency and good looks at goal, 58 per game. Port, their score dries up if they don't get it from mid to forward very quickly. Back half hasn't been quite proficient, and there's a few issues there. I'm going to go with Sydney by 18. Heaney definitely will slice them up in this one. The Doggies versus St Kilda. Saints at the minute have a real strong boundary, particularly on the metrics. The Dogs, though, are a top-tier side in them contested areas, and the clearance is really strong. I expect Bond to return here, which gives them a little bit extra to rip it out of congestion and really get it out wide and send it forward with a big return. I'm going to go the Doggies here by 21. This could be one of them games where I think the Saints will stay in it, but I just feel that lack of A-grade star will cost them in some of these tight games. And then we finish Easter Monday. Always chaos, and this year I'm tipping that Hawks will buck the trend. They are plus 6.4 in shot differential and a sneaky, efficient stat line in these tight games. Geelong, they're a very, very, very strong machine, and the big issue here is their turnover differential. They can be caught from the back half of the ground. I think with Sicily being a brick wall, Battle and Barras last week disappointing. They're going to rise, and I think the Hawks will win this one by 6. The lock of the round this week, not really interesting. I'm going with Essendon over the Eagles. They might need to invent a mercy rule, I feel like, in the next couple of weeks for the Eagles. And upset watch, we're going to go with Hawks. It loves a shock. The Hawks, I think, are in form, so are Geelong, but I think last week's disappointment against Port will make them fire back. There you have it then, the round 6 tips from your favourite Pommy with a northern accent. Chuck your tips in the comments. Let me know who you're going for. Give me your lock of the week, and we'll definitely have a look at it next week. Peace, love, and light. Pommy's out of here.
Spent all my life holding all of it closely. I played it innocent, a feel of discontent. I'm finally facing it all, fearless.